Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Good to see everyone.
Yes. So good to see you.
Let's see.
Okay,
Thanks.
Donna, so you're live. I made Kim co-host and your host. Have a good day.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you very much. All right. Well,
Being here.
hi, Robert and who?
Carol,
Carol. Hi. Good to see you guys again.
nice to see you and thanks for being here and doing this.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure. Yeah. Oh, hi, Ivy. Where are you? On some tropical island?
I wish. I listen. I just jumped off another Zoom call I had, and it was the topic was island hopping.
Oh, that sounds good.
Russ was featuring the islands of Santorini, Greece, and Rhodes. So, yeah,
That sounds nice.
wishful thinking.
Oh, you left that to learn how to read music? Oh, that's funny. Well, it's good to see you.
Need this.
This is the one you need.
Yes.
I really need a refresher.
All right, I'll give you a push. That's funny. All right. Well, I think we've got just about everyone in here. I'm going to go ahead and get started here today. Want to welcome everyone to Get Set Up. We're seniors teaching seniors about technology. We have social hours and all kinds of programming for you to enjoy. Now let's get my share out here. Today's class. Yeah, today we're going to talk about how to read music for the beginner or just the curious. And I would imagine we might have a mixture in this class today. We'll see what we have. My name is Donna. I'm your guide for today. I was in the IT industry for over 30 years, and I enjoy helping people get over their fears of learning technology. I also was a music major back in the day. I was a classical guitar major, and I did major in music therapy. So seems like a long time ago. You can get a recording of this class if you'd like to by emailing help@getsetup.io. And for people joining us live stream, come on in, register, get to know us. We'd like to get to know you. And we're not paid to promote any of the products I may mention today, although I don't think I'm going to be mentioning any, but just in case. So today's agenda, we're going to do a brief history of Western music notation. We're going to talk about the basics of music notation and how pitch and rhythm are notated for the musician to understand what they're going to play. So first of all, does anyone know how to read music out of the crowd here today? Yeah?
Paquito.
A little bit, Ivy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
a little bit.
little bit. And is it Carol? What do you play an instrument? You have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Have you had the music where it's 1, 2, 3, 4? When I see 1, 2, 3, 4, immediately I can sound out the pitch. But when I see the lines, I have to count it.
Well, it does take a while to get used to it. It does.
And I've tried, and it just, maybe I'm too old to learn that. But when I see, 5, I immediately so.
Right.
Sorry, I sing in several choirs, and I never took formal music reading, but I'm good enough to be able to be part of an auditioned choir, so I can.
Wow, so you're good. You know what? I might have to talk to you about that because I used to sing. I used to sing years ago, but between age and asthma, not so good anymore.
Yeah, I'm getting a little old, and my voice is a little strange. But
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, recently the choir, my temple choir that I've been in, has been doing some recording and putting things together as a choir. and I've been just horrified at how my voice sounds. But
That's a good way to put it. Horrified.
but I do read a little. I'm not great,
You want to get better.
but I want to get better. So
No problem. No problem. Anyone else?
Yeah, I sang in a choir, of course, and that was a pretty famous one too, because they used to charge like $20 to $40 a ticket for a concert. But anyway, I know I probably learned like Andreas did, listening sometimes,
Mhm.
and the slow way I would change the note. Well, put 1, 2, 3, 4 on the notes. That way, when I see 7, immediately I know it's D. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I have to count or be up beyond the first octave.
Yeah.
It's harder. I have to number them. Otherwise, I will know what note.
Yeah. It's a great brain game if you want to right now at our ages start learning to read music or playing an instrument.
But the
All
thing-
right. So when we're looking at something like this, you look at this, how do you read this? Right? I see Carol's like, oh no. This is Chopin. We need to do a class on him. He's excellent pianist. Oh, the piano music out of Chopin is really great. But yeah, let's talk. We're going to talk about this. Let's see if we can decipher what this is all about. Get some people up to speed. Hiroko, do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay.
The reason, I play the piano quite seriously,
Oh,
but
good.
I learned piano from a French teacher. So but now I'm teaching my grandchildren, and I just don't know how to teach it in the United States. So that's why I try to get some tricks, from the
No
class.
problem. No problem. That's funny. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, we're going to hit upon the history of music notation. The oldest melody is 3,400 years old, and it was discovered on a clay tablet, this tablet right here. It's a Hurrian hymn. It was from Syria, played on a lyre. This was what it would look like on the right side, this picture. It would have strings and be strummed. That's what it's like. So let me, I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of this music so you can kind of see. What they did was they were able to interpret what this music language was, and they're going to give us a little sampling of what it probably sounded like. So I'm going to open this up here so you can check it out. I'll send you the link so you can listen to all that in entirety. But that's pretty good, huh? 3,400 years ago. Quite the tune. They really started rocking out there at a certain point. It's getting pretty good. So, we've had all types of music notation from different civilizations, a lot of music. Just to show you some different notations here. This is from Korea. We've got Indian music, early 20th century. Russia, 1884. Very similar to the Gregorian chant notation that we used in Europe, in Western music also. They would read the words, and these weren't really notes. They were suggestions like go up, go down. There was no duration or anything like that. You had to know the music ahead of time, have it taught to you by rote in order to really know what you were doing. But it shows you an example there. Chinese, 1425. Japanese notation, 738 AD. There's been a lot of different notations all over the world. This is early 14th century English. Now, this is an interesting time because, music was being learned by rote. And there was a guy named Guido. He was a monk in Italy. I'm going to play a couple videos so you can hear about his influence on how music was being notated, because he was trying to teach music. He was teaching all these people by rote how to chant, because we had these Gregorian chants, they called them. And he was trying to find an easier way to get the younger people that were coming into the choirs up to speed faster, instead of going over and over the same stuff. So let me just play you a little story about Guido.
Brought about by an unassuming 11th century monk by the name of Guido. This is the Museo della Musica in Talla, Italy, which houses displays on the history of music as far back as the musical notation system developed by Guido around 1,000 years ago. Until the 9th century, music was transmitted almost exclusively through an oral tradition. Manuscripts like this one contain shorthand reminders placed over the words to show the general contour of the melody. But unless the singer already knew the chant, they weren't much help. The simple brilliance of Guido's system was to add lines and a clef, which identified a note on that line as F. You'll notice from this manuscript that there were only 4 lines instead of the 5 we have in modern notation. And rhythmic durations were still undeveloped, but the ability to specify pitch was a quantum leap for music. Another important contribution made by Guido was to name the first 6 tones of the major mode so that he could easily make reference to each pitch while teaching the chant repertory to his students. He took the names from the first syllable of each line in this hymn, because each line outlines the next step in the scale: ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. The Guidonian hand bears Guido's name, and it is a great application of his ideas, but he probably didn't actually create it. At least it's not mentioned in his books. The concept behind the hand was that once a singer memorized the positions of the syllables, a teacher could teach a whole group of monks a chant melody by pointing to the pitches on his hand. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, and la are still used as solemnization symbols in music schools today. So, if you're wondering who to thank for the solfege syllables you use in musicianship, Guido's your man. Solfege, combined with the ability to write down and recreate chant melodies, was a musical revolution, or what Howard Goodall calls a big bang.
Go! It's rolling. It's 17:30.
And here's a little video about that, a Guidonian hand that they're talking about. So you can see more about that.
Around the 10th century, Western music looked like this. If you want to learn more about why medieval music looked this way, check out this video on how the music clefs got their shapes. Now, if this was written in modern notation, it would look something like this. These were the only notes being used in conventional Western music at the time. 20 notes plus 2 accidentals, and each note had its own name. I'm not talking like today's music where each note is one of the 7 letters of the musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, or G. No, each one of these notes had a particular name, which included the note name but also its positions in the hexachord system. For example, this D below middle C is called D so re, and this G above middle C is called G so re ut. All of the notes followed this convention, beginning with the note name and then its positions in the hexachords. With this system, each note has a unique name. This is where the Guidonian hand comes in. If you search the internet for Guidonian hand, odds are you'll find something like this, a scan from a music manuscript dating back to the 10th or 11th century. But it's easier to show you how the Guidonian hand worked on an actual 3-dimensional hand. Beginning on the thumb of the left hand, you would start with the lowest note, gamma ut, then going down the joints of the thumb, A re and B mi. The rest of the notes followed a spiral pattern around the hand, going up the pinky, across the fingers, and then circling back around. Since most of the music at the time was taught by rote, this was a simple tool musicians could learn to help them remember the notes and to help them sight sing music. I ended up making a couple more hands for this project, if you want to see how that...
He made the hands. So Carol, is that what you do in your choir? All right, and a little bit more of the, the do, re, mi. We know all about it. Again, a little bit more about Guido.
Why do we sing do, re, mi? Do, re, mi, also known as solfege, is a system of associating each note of the Western music scale with a particular syllable. This was done to aid the learning of music notation and improve sight singing skills. Like many components of Western civilization, solfege is a product of the medieval period. A Benedictine monk by the name of Guido was working in the Italian city of Arezzo as a teacher at the cathedral. While there, he developed many techniques to teach his singers various chants and songs. Guido created a mnemonic for remembering the musical scale. Using the first syllable of each line of the hymn, Ut quiant laxus, Guido created solfege. At the age of 34, in the year 1025 or 26, Guido published a treatise on music entitled Micrologus. His ut re mi system of psalmization then spread across Europe. In 1640, Giovanni Battista Doni, a Florentine musicologist, proposed that ut be replaced with do, arguing that it is easier to sing. His contemporaries agreed and the change was adopted. The 7th note, the leading tone of the scale, was later added and named C, after Sancta Johannes, the final line in Guido's hymn. The last change to solfege was made in Norwich, England in 1811. Sarah Ann Glover, a music educator, wanted each syllable of the scale to start with a different letter. C was then changed to T. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do.
Now that will sound very familiar to anyone that is a singer about learning this solfege. All right. So let's, I'm going to show the next video I'm going to show you is going to give you an intro into actually reading music. So enjoy this, and then we're going to start looking at some music to read.
When we watch a film or a play, we know that the actors probably learned their lines from a script, which essentially tells them what to say and when to say it. A piece of written music operates on exactly the same principle. In a very basic sense, it tells a performer what to play and when to play it. Aesthetically speaking, there's a world of difference between, say, Beethoven and Justin Bieber, but both artists have used the same building blocks to create their music: notes. And although the end result can sound quite complicated, the logic behind musical notes is actually pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the foundational elements to music notation and how they interact to create a work of art. Music is written on 5 parallel lines that go across the page. These 5 lines are called a staff, and a staff operates on 2 axes, up and down and left to right. The up and down axis tells the performer the pitch of the note, or what note to play, and the left to right axis tells the performer the rhythm of the note, or when to play it. Let's start with pitch. To help us out, we're going to use a piano, but this system works for pretty much any instrument you can think of. In the Western music tradition, pitches are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After that, the cycle repeats itself: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. But how do these pitches get their names? Well, for example, if you played an F and then played another F higher or lower on the piano, you'd notice that they sound pretty similar compared to, say, a B. Going back to the staff, every line and every space between 2 lines represents a separate pitch. If we put a note on one of these lines or in one of these spaces, we're telling a performer to play that pitch. The higher up on the staff a note is placed, the higher the pitch. But there are obviously many, many more pitches than the 9 that these lines and spaces give us. A grand piano, for example, can play 88 separate notes. So how do we condense 88 notes onto a single staff? We use something called a clef. A clef is a weird-looking figure placed at the very beginning of the staff, and it acts like a reference point telling you that a particular line or space corresponds to a specific note on your instrument. If we want to play notes that aren't on the staff, we kind of cheat and draw extra little lines called ledger lines and place the notes on them. If we have to draw so many ledger lines that it gets confusing, then we need to change to a different clef. As for telling a performer when to play the notes, 2 main elements control this: the beat and the rhythm. The beat of a piece of music is, by itself, kind of boring. It sounds like this. Notice that it doesn't change, it just plods along quite happily. It can go slow, or fast, or whatever you like really. The point is that just like the second hand on a clock divides 1 minute into 60 seconds, with each second just as long as every other second, the beat divides a piece of music into little fragments of time that are all the same length. Beats. With a steady beat as a foundation, we can start adding rhythm to our pitches, and that's when music really starts to happen. This is a quarter note. It's the most basic unit of rhythm, and it's worth 1 beat. This is a half note, and it's worth 2 beats. This whole note here is worth 4 beats, and these little guys are eighth notes, worth half a beat each. Great, you say. What does that mean? You might have noticed that across the length of a staff, there are little lines dividing it into small sections. These are bar lines, and we refer to each section as a bar. At the beginning of a piece of music, just after the clef, is something called the time signature, which tells the performer how many beats are in each bar. This says there are 2 beats in each bar, this says there are 3, this one 4, and so on. The bottom number tells us what kind of note is to be used as the basic unit for the beat. 1 corresponds to a whole note, 2 to a half note, 4 to a quarter note, an eighth to an eighth note, and so on. So this time signature here tells us that there are 4 quarter notes in each bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But like I said before, if we just stick to the beat, it gets kind of boring, so we'll replace some quarter notes with different rhythms. Notice that even though the number of notes in each bar has changed, the total number of beats in each bar hasn't. So, What does our musical creation sound like? Sounds okay, but maybe a bit thin, right? Let's add another instrument with its own pitch and rhythm. Now it's sounding like music. Sure, it takes some practice to get used to reading it quickly and playing what we see on our instrument, but with a bit of time and patience, you could be the next Beethoven. Or Justin Bieber.
All right. So going back, the music notation, when Guido, he did a lot for music. Little Guido. Music kept developing and developing to the Renaissance periods, the Baroque periods. In the classical periods, 1750, 1820 classical period is when the music was very instrumental, because a lot of instruments were being actually made during that time. We had a lot of instruments. The growth of the orchestra came in, and we really needed to have organization as far as the notation went, because you have more and more instruments playing together. You have to have agreed upon rules of how the music is going to be. And so that's really when our notation really kicked in the classical and romantic periods for the notation that we think of when we look at it today. So looking at the reading of music, just from what that yellow guy told us, we have the grand staff. The grand staff, when we talk about the grand staff, we're talking about two different clefs. We're talking about the G clef, and it's called the G clef or the treble clef because this circle right here circles the G note. This other clef right here is the bass clef. It's also called the F clef. And that's because in between these two dots is the F note. So when you're playing the only instruments that really play the full grand staff is the piano, the organ, the keyboard type instruments. So they will play, you'll notice here that the notes are different between the two staffs, right? You've got different notes here, like this first line is an E. First line down on the bass clef is a G. So for a pianist, they have to read two different things at the same time. It's a great brain game. It really is. Most musicians and instrumentalists and vocalists, you're only doing one note at a time. The use of the treble clef. Flute players, violinists, altos, sopranos. I can see Carol. Yeah, they'll use this clef. The bass clef. Okay, used by maybe the upright bass. The cello, although the cello tends to use another clef called a tenor clef, which is a different type of clef. You will also see trombone, tuba. All these lower instruments will use this clef. So a good portion of all the instruments will be between these two clefs when they're playing music. So the key to reading music is you have to memorize where these notes land on these staff. So we have little tricks to learn in music. For the treble clef, I think this might be a misprint because usually it's every good boy does fine, right? E, G, B, D, F. And the spaces are face. They spell face. Is this coming back to some people's memory? And when you're looking at the bass clef, good boys do fine always. Or some people say it's good boys deserve fudge always. I don't know. You can do it whichever way you remember it. And then the spaces are all cows eat grass.
Oh, that's new.
So these are ways for musicians. They come up with these little sayings so that they can learn what the notes are on these lines and spaces. If you're lucky and you only have to use one clef, you don't have as much to learn. Now, pianists have to learn all of this because they're going to be playing your left hand. Your left hand plays the bass clef, and your right hand plays the treble if you're a pianist or an organist. On the left side of this graphic, you will see it's all lined up on the keyboard of a piano. You start with middle C. When you just look at a piano and head right to the middle of the keyboard. Middle C is the note. So it's a white key, and it's right before two of the black keys. That's middle C. Middle C is lands right in between the two clefs. And then from there, you've got a D. When you're going up, you're going to have a D note, and then you start on the lines. When you have the middle C here and you go down, you'll go to B, and then you'll start with A down here on the bass clef. So that's how the music lands on a piano. The piano is the easiest way to teach music theory because of the way it's laid out. It's nice and neat. You can visually see it. It's not like that with other instruments. You can't visually see where these notes go. So that does make it really good for the piano. Anyone have any questions while you're looking at this?
Yep, I tried. I can memorize. I did it very late when I was already in graduate school. Was when I could afford the piano teacher and all that.
Yeah.
But, somehow when I see, I may be able to do the pitch. But if I look at, say, A, I will know what the pitch. But if you tell me 3, I will know that's me. So.
So you learned it with the solfege.
Oh, is that solfege?
Yeah. Yeah. Do, re, mi.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Or the 1, 2, 3. Yep. Some people did learn it 1, 2, 3. They'll learn it by numbers.
Yeah, that's bad because that's what I had when I was in school in the Far East. But and transferring them to the ABC, I get lost. I've tried for years.
It might be a little easier to do the words because you're now looking at the letter. You know, instead of translating from a number to a letter, where you're looking at these and you're actually looking at the letters. That might be easier. All right.
Okay. Well, I don't know. My 7-year-old grandson can do compositions, and I don't know how he does it because I can't even read it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of study. I mean, we're talking about really the base ground of music theory. Music theory gets very, very involved. It'll bury you when you get into composition and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it gets very involved.
I think. Because with him, it just comes naturally. He just plays out what he likes, and then he writes it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are good at writing music. Yes. All right. So let's do a little game here. So now we see the music, and we're going to do a little challenge here. Now I'm going to play this video. Now, you saw the where the notes are, right? And we're going to take a look at this just to quiz ourselves a little bit here.
Challenge.
Okay, right? We're just going to do treble clef. So face, right? The spaces are face. You might want to write this down, or if you have it memorized.
Think face if the note is in the space. Think every good burger.
She does something different. Every good burger deserves fries. I mean, you could do that too. I have never heard that before. That must be a new one they're doing now. Whatever works, right? You can make up anything, really. You could make up your own thing. It's the point is how you're going to remember it. That's the thing, remembering it. Okay, so here we go. So make sure you have made notes or you have your little saying. Here we go. Let's quiz ourselves.
Fries for notes on a line. Listen to the music. Figure out the note name and see if you can say the note name together at the same time. Ready?
All right. What is it? Anybody have the note?
F.
Very good.
F. D. D.
Mm-hmm.
Every good boy does.
Yeah, it does, right.
D. F, A.
Very good. I like this music.
E,
All right. Yep. Yep.
F. F. G. G.
Mm-hmm.
G.
G.
D. D. D.
D. Yep.
Every good boy.
E. Right. E.
F, A, and C. C.
Yep. C. Yep.
E.
Mm-hmm.
How did you do?
I think you guys did pretty good. You're reading music. Here we go. Here's another little game. This is gonna spell words. Uh-oh. Did I hear an
Use
uh-oh?
a spelling bee. Just believe in yourself. You can do it. Play the game. See if you can figure out what word is spelled with the music notes. If you can figure it out before the bell rings, give yourself a point. For lines, think
You remember you guys are pretty good though. I think you must have written it down. Or you have your saying.
every good burger deserves fries. First space, spell ace. F-A-C-E.
All right, here we go.
Ready?
E. G. G. Egg.
Egg. There you go. Yep.
D. A. G. D. Dad.
What is it?
Dad.
Yep. Yep.
D. B. E. B. E. B. E. D. D. Bed.
There you go. It makes you think, doesn't it? There we go.
B-A-D.
Yep.
B-A-D. D. B-A-E-G. Bag. Bag.
There you go.
Face.
There you go. Face, yeah. Faces. That was a trick one. That was to freak you out. Gab, yep. Very good. Very good. How was that?
Wow. No spelling bee.
Guess what? You guys were just reading music. Congratulations. You're reading music. You didn't think you'd get that far, huh?
But without the pitch.
Yeah.
Just spelling. We're just spelling out words.
Isn't that interesting though? It made you have to read you had to read the staff though to spell those words out, right? So look at that. You guys are fast. So we're going to do a quick little video here talking about rhythm.
Mhm.
Okay. That's another thing we need to talk about because that's the other part of reading music. So let's listen to this.
Music is divided into bars by bar lines. The time signature, those two numbers at the beginning of the piece, tell us how many beats or counts will be between one bar line and the next. We divide things up like this because it makes the music way easier to read. No bar lines equals mega confusion. So here's a short piece without any bar lines. Let's see if we can fill them in. Before we do anything else, let's figure out how many counts each of these notes have.
4, 5, 6,
In the
7.
last video, we learned that all crotchets have 1 count, all minims have 2 counts, and all semibreves have 4 counts. Like this. With the counting down, let's look at the time signature at the beginning of the tune. This particular time signature is called 4/4. For now, let's forget about the bottom number and focus on the more important top number. This tells us how many beats will be between one bar line and the next. In this case, the top number is 4, so every bar will be exactly 4 beats long. All we need to do now is add up the counts until we get 4, and then draw a nice vertical bar line. Easy. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, bar line. 1, 2, 3, 4, bar line. 1, 2, 3, 4, bar line. And finally, 1, 2, 3, 4, bar line. Now, because it's the end of the tune, we need to add a special type of bar line to show that we're done. It looks like this, and we call it a double bar line. There you have it. We've used the time signature to draw in some bar lines and make some bars. Let's clap it, shall we? Always a good idea to clap this kind of thing.
Understand?
Ready? 1, 2,
1,
3,
2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Means
1,
that a quarter
2,
gets
3,
1 beat.
Yeah, right.
1, 2,
And a half note then gets 2 beats. Right.
Awesome, let's try another example. Just like before, let's give the crotchets 1 count and the minims 2 counts. Now check out that time signature. This time the top number isn't 4, it's 3. This particular time signature is called 3/4. We're in 3/4 time, so each bar now needs to have exactly 3 beats. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, bar line. 1, 2, 3, bar line. 1, 2, 3, bar line. And 1, 2, 3. Double bar line. Let's clap. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Man, drawing all these bar lines is fun. Let's try one more. Again, let's put in the counting. Crotchets get 1 count, minims get 2 counts. You know the drill. This time we're looking at a 2/4 time signature. 2 is on the top, so every bar needs to be exactly 2 beats long. 1, 2, bar line. 1, 2, bar line. 1, 2, bar line. And 1, 2, double bar line. Clapping? But of course. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And we are done. Music quiz. Here's a tune with all the bar lines marked in. But bar 3 is missing notes. Check out the time signature and let me know below in comments.
All right. What could you put in there?
The rest.
You could put a rest. Yeah. You could just have silence.
Take a breath.
You could have 4 of the quarter notes, right? They could go in here. You could do this 2 quarter notes and a half could fit in here. You could do the whole note. Whole note could be here. Now, how about a combination that's not on the page? What would be a combination that's not on the page?
Well, two halves.
Two halves? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you put two half notes here, then it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. You'd have the two of these half notes. Each one would get 2 beats. Very good. All right. So when we're talking about the notes, now did you notice he's obviously from England? They have a little different names for things there, the crotchets and all that. We call them whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth, 16th, 32nd, 64s, which, man, I did not like playing those.
No.
Those are not fun. And then they have corresponding rests, because in music you have sound and you have silence. So you will see that in music, a rest means no sound. So if you have an instrument that vibrates the sound, you should mute it so that there will be no sound during that time. All right. So when we're looking at these notes, talking about the 4/4 time signature, a whole note, one note, you're going to play it one time, and then it's going to ring for 4 beats. That's how that's played. If you're doing half notes, it's going to ring for 2 beats, and then you're going to play again or pluck it again or blow the note, whatever instrument or sing, whatever you do, you're going to do the note again, and it's going to last for 2 beats. And then the quarter notes, they are a 1-beat note there. So there's going to be 4 of them for each beat in the measure. So you can have 4 beats to the bar or to the measure, however you want to call it. The bottom number, it just tells you that the quarter note is that's the one that gets the 1 beat. And that's most common to have the quarter note as being a 1 beat in the music. And of course, if you're looking at your 8th notes, you're going to be counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and when you're doing 8th notes. 16th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? You got to get them. The idea when you're playing these type of notes is to space them out. Every beat has a duration of time. And in that time, from the time you start the beat, from the top to the bottom, that's when you got to get all those notes in. You got to kind of make them nice and even. And then triplets, they have down here counting 1 triplet, 2 triplet. I usually just said 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and. So however you're going to do it, that works for you. So those are the beats.
A triplet takes more than the time. The time allowed for the triplet.
Yeah, you just have to space it out over the beat.
I wouldn't know how to do that.
I always think of waltzing, the waltz. If you ever learned how to dance the waltz, that's exactly how you play the triplet. Think of when you're dancing the waltz.
They call it 3/4 time.
Yeah. All right. So when we're looking at an example here, for instance, looking at this song, and anyone who's done solfeggio can tell me probably right about now, what song is this? Singers? What is it, Carol?
A national anthem.
Yeah, it's the national anthem. Very good.
Da, 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 da,
Yeah, there you go.
da, da, da.
Perfect. There you go. She got it. That's an example of solfeggio. What she just did is just being able to look at a piece of music and be able to know your intervals. An interval is a space between the notes. And the way she just sang it right now was perfect. That's how the sight reading. So Guido, he was on the right track, little Guido, on his little solfeggio. So when we're looking at the rhythm here, this is leading into, so when you're doing this kind of a song, you would be counting 1, 2, and then 3 and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So when you're playing, that's how you would be thinking when you're doing the beat. So that's the tricky part of doing music. Knowing your notes, knowing how to read the clef, how to play that note on your instrument or whatever you're doing to play the music. And then also getting the rhythm right, getting the time right. So all those together, and you're able to play the music. So I do have a question. After all that we have done, does this look a little less daunting when you're looking at the music like this now from what we've been learning today?
Well, one thing is to know, but music, like languages, is practice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And
you have to practice.
You don't keep practice, so that it becomes nature when you see that note written out, immediately come up with the right pitch and the right rhythm.
Exactly. Yes. When you're playing your instrument for a long enough period of time and you practice enough, you don't sit there going FACE or every good boy does fine. You'll already know where that is. It does. It takes practice.
Right. And if you play Paganini or something, it can be so fast. If you don't have that kind of practice, you can't. I wouldn't have gotten beyond 10 notes by the time they play the whole thing.
It does. It takes a lot of practice to be able to do, all that stuff. All right. Then one other thing to talk about, you may have noticed in music, you have these, they call them incidentals, accidentals. These are key signatures. We've been talking about the key of C. There's no sharps or flats, but it'd be boring if all the music was in the key of C. That would be really, So we have a lot of different keys and they have different sounds to them. And what these tell the musician when they're looking at it is what note is going to be sharp or flat. That's what it's telling you. So for instance, when you're looking on a piano and you're playing, the one example, let's just look at, for instance, G major. Okay, it's got an F sharp here. Okay, F's are sharp. So that means when I'm playing along, like for instance, if I do the C, if I'm in the key of C, I just play each of these keys right in order, and that's the key of C. If I'm going to do G, I'm going to start with G, A, B, C, D, E, and then, F. F is sharp. I got to hit the black key here. And then I play the G. So that's what the key signature is telling the musician, like, don't play the F the way you normally would do it. It's got to be sharp. So that's what it's telling the musician as they're playing. So they know what they have to do. Any questions about that?
Right. How do they indicate if there's another one that they don't want the sharp? And if they have combination F sharp and there's regular F.
Mm-hmm.
So how would that be indicated in the in those 5 lines?
Well, yeah, what you would do is, like, if I look at this, I know F's are sharp. So when I see an F, when I'm playing my song, when I see that F, I'm going to play it sharp.
Is it possible there may be some F's that they don't want, say the composer?
Oh, yeah, sometimes they do that. And they do a natural sign. They have a one-time shot. They might, one time in the whole piece, they might make that sharp, that F natural, and they have a little natural sign they put next to it. So right. Play that one regular.
Particular one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
they do that sometimes just to see if you're awake. No. Now you'll see that sometimes in composition. That's a good question. You will see that, where sometimes they do that. So now let's take a look at this, for instance, Amazing Grace.
I can sing that without reading it.
You can sing it. There you go. Yeah.
But if I read it, I won't be able to sing it.
So we're looking at our notes, right? So when we start at the left, okay, we are in, this is the G clef, the treble clef, right? And we've got the bass clef. Our key signature is telling, we just spoke about it, we are in the G major with the F's are sharp. The time This is 3/4 time, so it's going to be 3 beats to a measure, right? 3 beats to a measure. And just looking at these notes, for instance, what note is this one right here?
Half note.
Oh, I mean the pitch. What is the actual note?
So
G.
G, right. What note is this?
D. D.
D, right. G and D, right? So so you've got D and G. So you would be playing, if you were on the piano, D is right here and G is right here. You'd be pressing down those 2 notes when you're playing. And it's 3 beats to a measure. So this would be held for 2 beats. And then you've got 1 beat and remember you got an 8th note here. So this note would be 3 and then you go to the next measure. So you guys are already reading music. How'd that happen?
How come the first bar has only half quarter note?
That's a lead-in. So what you would do is when you're counting, you'd be going 1, 2, and then boom, on 3, you would play and then go to the next measure. You'll see that a lot. There's quite a few songs that start from the previous measure. They don't start right at the first measure. They'll have a little lead-in of some sort. And it's pretty common, especially in popular music, I would say. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Was this helpful for you today? I want to show you a little bit. I forgot about this part. To show you some other music, like for instance, for the cello. Cello would be in the bass clef. So this is what a cellist would see. Okay. Drum set. The percussion's different because they don't really do pitch on a lot of the percussion instruments. So you would see something like this. This could be the X's would be the snare. And these notes here would, instead of representing a pitch, they would represent a tom-tom, like one of the drums. So they would know what they're going to beat. So it's different, a little different with drum sets. This is classical guitar. Classical guitars will put in the position of on the neck of the guitar, and they will give you sometimes clues to the fingering. And sometimes they include tabs where you don't have the music, it just tells you where to position your finger. And this is Sylvia?
Oh, a violin, because it has violin isn't that way, right? They read that regular music.
They read off the treble, yeah. Now this is an example of an orchestra score. This is what a conductor sees. They see everyone's part. So when they look at this is the flute part. This is all in Italian. Flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, trumpet, trombone, timpani, violin 1, violin 2, violas, cellos. So they're seeing everyone's part at one time. So that's what a conductor will see. So just to show you, and when we were talking about different clefs, we've been talking about bass and treble, but these are the other ones, tenor and alto. And all they do is tell you where middle C, we were talking about that C in the middle, where that will be. So I think we're at the end of our time today. I want to thank you for coming today for our reading music class. Was this helpful for people as a little refresher? No?
Yeah. It was advanced for me.
Advanced, okay. You can always come and take it again if you'd like. Other classes related to this. I have a music appreciation class called All About the Orchestra, where we talk, it really is a music history lesson. If you look for that on the schedule, it talks about music history. And I use the orchestra as an example of the how the music changes throughout the period. We just focus on orchestra so you can see the differences in how the music changes. And there's going to be a history of the opera class coming up. You can look for that on the schedule too. Some next classes I have a music fun hour that's going to be coming up on Fridays. It will change from Friday to Friday to different types of music, but it will be a time to do trivia, play some music. We'll do some name that tune, that type of stuff, and have some fun singing and dancing if you want to. And another class I have is music apps to listen to your favorite music. So come on in and have some fun with those. You'll be getting a feedback form at the end of this class. Go ahead and fill out your feedback. If you have any other class ideas you'd like to see, go ahead and put them in there. I'm looking for artists and musicians who'd like to help me with the program here at Get Set Up. If you're interested in getting involved, put it in the feedback that you would like to talk to Donna about something you might want to do with dealing with art and music. So again, this session is recorded. You can get a recording by doing help@getsetup.io. And our website has changed over the past few weeks. Marv has a class on Get Set Up's new look, where you can learn about how to register for classes and that type of thing. So any final questions anyone has? Any comments, anything? All right. All right then, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We will see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.